Uh,
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Green Square Talks Battlebots podcast, the first one of the new Battlebots season. So
Woo!
I am here with Pory and Smurf, who are pretty much regular co-hosts on this podcast, and we're here with a very special guest for this preseason podcast, Greg Munson himself. So how's it going, all three of you?
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's really awesome that you're here. I've been looking forward to this for a real long time.
Cool.
Absolutely. Like I thought this would be a great opportunity, especially with what I was hoping to talk about. So
Sweet.
So what this podcast is going to feature is this is kind of our preseason show. What we're going to be doing is I kind of have three sections for this podcast. The first one is we're going to talk about some of the changes for this season from last season that we know of. And then we have a little bit of a questionnaire right in the middle. Lots of those questions probably won't have to do with the upcoming season, but some of them might. But
yeah, it's all
most of it run by Pory. And and then we'll talk about some of the robots for this upcoming season for the last section. So we'll go ahead and get started. Where the first big change that I want to talk about here, one that I think would be a good one to lead it off, is the changes to the matchmaking system. So Greg, would you be interested in talking about like the matchmaking system for this year, kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. So in past seasons, we're kind of at the mercy of how many episodes get ordered for the show. And as you've seen, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, we want to invite as many robots as we can based on the budget and the time everyone can take off of work. And then, of course, the budget we have. And so the math is done. And sometimes the math doesn't work out, right? In the ABC days, maybe you got 2 matches, unless you made it deep into the tournament. And in the early discovery days, sometimes you had 3. But that we all saw in this last season, some had 2 and some had 3. And it really wasn't probably the best way to figure out who the top 32 are, because some records, all the records are skewed and uneven. So we've had enough of that. And we thought, okay, this season, now that we got this expanded order of like 15 fight card episodes and was it 3 or 4 tournament episodes plus Cincinnati Slugfest. So we got a huge order from Discovery, which is great. So that gives us the freedom finally to say, okay, do the math, 50 robots, not 60 like we usually do, 60 plus. Everyone can get 4 fights, and that's a quality algorithm to figure out who's going to be in the top 32. And we'll do it one better. Instead of matchmaking on the fly, like we do, so-and-so lost, so they're going to go down to maybe the B group and fight like a C robot that won their fight against a B robot. And we're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and the Aaron's typing all this stuff out for all the writers and everybody. And we get home at 3:45, and then we have to wake up at 6. Aaron did all the matches for everyone's schedule on day 1. So the great cool thing this season is everybody, including the bot builders and the audience, is going to know who fights who for the entirety of the fight card. Let's call it qualifying rounds of the Giant Nut World Championship tournament. And that's going to be published on our website Thursday. And everyone will be able to go to a URL that will be put on the screen during the broadcast. Hopefully the server doesn't crash, and they'll be able to see everybody's schedule. And then we're also going to keep track of the standings, the win-loss records. And then there'll be a second tab where you can see, and that will sort to see, 4 no's on the top and 0 and 4's at the bottom. One caveat there, though, is don't think that's the top 32, because not all wins are created equal, and not all losses are created equal. Sometimes a heroic loss that goes the full 3 minutes is a lot better than a win where you barely won, right?
Yeah.
So, but it'll give fans a better perspective on the season in total, and hopefully generate a lot of fun conversations online and on Reddit and the Facebook group about who they think the top 32 should be and how the matchups are looking, who's got the toughest schedule, who got a weak, easy schedule, all that kind of stuff. So you'll see it all on Thursday. Facebook supporters have already seen it, and there's certainly been hints all over our website as certain episodes get revealed. So that's the fun part this time. And I really hope we can stick with that for future seasons, it's all of that math thing. I think our goal right now is we're going to keep it the top 50 from here on out. To get in the top 50, you got to prove yourself. So every year we're going to have a number of bots that I hate the word alternate, but they can get in if a top 50 person burns out or can't make safety, which actually happened. 2 of the alts got in this season.
Yeah, wasn't Big Deal one of them? And then I wouldn't know who the other one was.
Big Deal got in, and I forget. I'll remember as we talk. But 2 robots flamed out and couldn't get in, and Big Deal was one that took a place of someone else. But that we need every season. And then, of course, with the live show happening in Las Vegas starting in February 3rd, what we'll hope to slowly but surely introduce into that live show is because the live show is fun, robots beating the crap out of each other, right? The World Championship is the sport. Live show is fun. Come see a great spectacle in Las Vegas of robots beating the crap out of each other. But the live show is going to start getting woven into it, this thing we're calling Proving Ground, where anyone who has a heavyweight robot can come, no gatekeeper, just come and fight. And if you kick ass and you're amazing, you could be one of those people who gets either in the top 50 or their chance to get in the top 50 by becoming an alt. And if you don't do well, so what? Come back next week and try again. Keep coming back. So it's an open door, more of an open door policy now that the arena is set up permanently in Las Vegas. We have that ability to just keep the doors open, as opposed to we got to get out of this venue in 12 hours because UPS is coming in. Move everything back to Vallejo. So now we've got the arena there for a long time. So should be really, really great for the heavyweight portion of the sport. It's a sort of a luxury that the lightweight people have had for a long time now, that it's now going to transfer over to the heavyweight portion.
Yeah, I was super excited to find out yesterday from somebody that posted this in UDA, the Discord server, that apparently that Nightmare is apparently going to be part of it.
Yeah. So there's going to be 12 robots, and we'll add more as if the show is successful. The goal is to keep adding more show bots, right? And these will be beloved bots that fans loved, not only from this, the current iteration of Battlebots, but from the Comedy Central era. So Tazbot and Nightmare are coming, and Overkill are coming.
Wait, Overkill? Yo, that's awesome.
So these bots are gonna be show bots, and they'll be fighting nightly in Vegas, whooping the crap out of some of the bots that are in the ABC/Discovery area of the show, which are like Hypershock and Whiplash and Witch Doctor and a couple of other ones. And we're actually building some new ones. Zach Goff from Copperhead's building a new really cool axe robot. And Zach Bieber from El Diablo, remember El Diablo from the Comedy Central days?
Oh yeah.
And Razorback from ABC. Razorback. He's building a new kind of Diablo-esque type tank robot. It's really cool. Ooh. And we couldn't help ourselves, so Ginsu's coming back.
I heard that on the BattleBots update. He kind of hinted at the Ginsu's coming back. That was actually going to be my first question, if that was a real thing, because that's really exciting.
It is a real thing, and Trey and I have enlisted the help of Mr. Hal Rucker to help build, from Duck fame, to help build. So, the problem with Ginsu's always fell apart. The chains always fell off. So who better to actually figure out a way to make it work all the time and be like a brick and always be able to fight than Hal Rucker? So
yeah,
that's happening.
Yeah, because I first heard about that thing actually from the team behind Athena, because I've talked with Joseph and DMs on Insta before, and he announced to me that Athena didn't get into BattleBots this upcoming season, and then mentioned that you hinted at some other competition that's going to be coming soon, which I'm guessing is the Destructathon, and that they're free to partake in. And
so a bot like Athena, there's been so many of these bots on the bitter edge of that cutoff, right? 60 to 50 robots, where I got to make the unfortunate call, man, we all, the so-called selection committee, loved your bot, but it's just you were 61, not 60. And now with the Destructathon, just come and fight.
Yeah,
Show
Boltergeist
it.
and Suit Slayer told me when I did a newcomer podcast on some of the possible rookies you'd be seeing in this upcoming season, and yeah, they both mentioned that they were two of the robots that were like kind of like right there on the edge from getting accepted. And
Yeah, there's always like, there's always this group of 10 when we get down to it where we can only pick 5 and the rest are like shit.
yeah,
And now
That's
it's
awesome.
we used to be looser with that, but now we can't because we're super tight. We've got a quota. We got to do 21 fights per day
Wow.
in the 2 weeks that we have, plus the dark days, to make our commitment to Discovery and get everyone home before their bosses fire them because they've been gone away from work too long.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So
Awesome.
yeah, and so Pory and Smurf and two of us and myself share our opinions on the matchmaking kind of rules. At least I'll share my answer right away because, like, yeah, I think it's definitely worth I think it's definitely worth a shot here. I think it's a good idea, and including what Munson said makes a lot of sense as for why they did that. Because I felt it definitely put a lot less work on your shoulders, at least during the event, and compared to the previous matchmaking system, including also Kyle from Hypershock was telling us about that system and in Uda, the Discord server, and he was mentioning that it really works well for the builders because like they're able to just like keep making robots. They know who to prepare for rather than getting like a last minute call for who they're taking on and possibly have to change up their entire game plan. And
Yeah.
That's the
definitely
big thing. That's huge because that's just it. Like the show ends at 10. You got a whole bunch of stuff to do for 11. Then we can finally meet in the trailer at around midnight. We're all eating like Chick-fil-A. And it's like, let's make the matches for tomorrow. We're all just dead tired. And then the builders don't see it probably till 2 or 3 in the morning. And they're like, I got to fight who? We got to change the whole front end. And then matches are delayed because of that. So just doing the whole season, the whole schedule up front is godsend. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. One question I have is so if a robot, like there were 2 robots you said that like were initially main season, they dropped out. So the robots that replaced them, did they get like the same exact schedule that they were supposed to get, the first one was supposed to get, or
Yeah, they literally take
okay.
over their schedule. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Ooh,
Cool.
Just
that makes
swap it in.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
I
your
I wish
definitely
I
opinion
like
on
could
that?
remember who they were. I just, it's blur.
Oh yeah.
Big Deal was one of them though, for sure.
Yeah, I remember hearing that Big Dill replaced somebody in there, and yeah, and same Discord server. And
Yeah, that's what I heard for sure.
Mhm.
yeah,
So my question now is the Destructathon gonna be filmed? Like, is it gonna be
ooh, yes,
streamed or
that
filmed
was a
or
question I
anything?
was thinking about asking.
So we are going to work with, hopefully a video, one of these prominent video companies to build a control room and have the ability to capture everything and then either do whatever we want with it, stream it, keep the footage for like NFL archives footage, use it in the TV show as kind of like, the story of the bot before they made it into the top 50, that kind of
Kind of
stuff.
like if since like Athena didn't get accepted for this season, if they were to perform well into the Destructathon to where they were able to make it in, you do like an introduction on Athena, kind of with some
Exactly. You
highlights
have
from the
that archival
Destructathon.
footage from, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, so we're working on that now. So from day 1, are we going to start streaming? I doubt it. We have to get it
Yeah.
all squared
That's
away.
good.
We got to get the show fine-tuned. There's going to be a lot of little, glitches and hiccups, as there always are in the first
Yeah.
couple of months when you do it. But I hope by April, May that, yeah, we are at least putting stuff on YouTube, cool fights, if
That'd
not
be awesome.
full-blown streaming. The thing is, it's a show, right? So it's a
Mhm.
lot of it is going to be the same fights over and over again. You're going to see Nightmare fighting Witch Doctor, 5 nights a week, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna, for people, tourists who come to Vegas who've never seen the show, that's fantastic. That's awesome. But for a robot enthusiast like we all are,
Mm.
you want to see different fights. So people just have to know Destructathon is a fun show, spectacle, smash crash, watch the robots fight. So I don't know how how interested the super fans are going to be of watching the same fights over. It's like watching Penn and Teller do the same magic tricks over and over again.
I'd watch
But
them all.
okay, well there you go. So but the proving ground stuff, right?
Mm.
Where Athena comes in and tries to fight, whoever to get on the show. That is really exciting to me. And hopefully as the things progress, it's almost like we'll see what the live audience likes better, what sells the most tickets. And, there's whatever that blend winds up being, will dictate what gets streamed and what gets highlighted on YouTube and all that stuff. So, but we are going to build a full-blown control room, so we have the ability to do all of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely same here. Yeah, I don't see anything from Smurf in the chat box, at least regarding that. So, we can move on to the next topic, where I think this is probably like the biggest one in my opinion of the 5 I've got put together, and that is the changes regarding controlled movement for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
yeah.
Take out the word control, and you've got it.
Yep.
So we've seen over the last, however many seasons we've done now, 6 seasons, 5 seasons up until this is season 7, so 6 seasons, that, sometimes, your opinion of he's not moving, that's not controlled movement, but the ref's not counting him out. And then another time, no, he's still moving and the ref's counting him out. There's, and the flames go up a bright red on Reddit and, the Facebook group, and people have these. So Marco from Minotaur, after the Witch Doctor fight, was giving me some really good advice on what they do in Brazil. He said, Greg, we just don't have control. Any movement is movement. As long as they're moving, the fight keeps going. And then I'm thinking, but what happens if they're both injured and they can't even touch each other? And he goes, hey, don't worry about it. And so we changed it. And I was a little bit scared that if they're both injured and they never touch each other, so we made a secondary rule that says if they can't touch each other and the refs are like, come on, they can call a double count out and it'll be decided by the judges. But the great thing is I don't think we even used that maybe once or twice during the whole season. No, just movement, no controlled movement. It worked fantastic. And I think people will be so much more happier about the countouts because it's dead. The robot is dead. Yeah, if you see a shell spinning but the spinner's not moving, that's not movement, right? But if they're crawling around on one wheel or something, keep the fight going. Or if like Nightmare did years ago, where it actually used its weapon to move, keep the fight going. And it's great because the builders, we thought there might be some hell holding back, like, okay, he's going to die. I'm not going to hold back. No, a lot of them still go in for the kill, and there's still these fantastic moments of awesome destruction, and it worked out great. So I think that is a huge win for the Battlebots rule set.
Yeah, absolutely. Because lots of my opinions on it. My biggest problem from the past few seasons, which you pretty much addressed there, is kind of like the inconsistency. And then I know some of the other teams we talked to also had some problems with that. Like some robots getting counted out when crab walking, others not getting counted out when crab walking, and so on. Like
this just makes it exactly. This makes it consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like my original stance was kind of like maybe do it somewhat like what Battlebots does, because like what Battlebots does on that show is like if you're moving in a circle, you get counted out. But then if you're able to leave your circumference, the fight keeps going. But I think that's an excellent method right there. And I'm in full support for that, including like what you said about how well it worked out. Yeah,
we went back and forth on that. We were going to do the circle thing. Because between last season and this season, we probably had like 10 Zooms with Marco and Adam Wrigley from Shatter, who was sort of voted on by the builders to become their representative for fixing things like the rules and updated versions of the legal contract and all kinds of stuff. And it worked out really great. And we decided just get rid of the word control.
Yeah.
It'll make the fights. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, including we have a couple other friends who were there live, even definitely said positive things about it, like what you said right there. So
yeah, good change.
Absolutely, and glad that my favorite robot inspired some of that stuff.
Is that Minotaur?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Brazilian robots, and then also Witch Doctor, Mouse, and Jackpot fit my rest of my top 5. So, okay, so Pory and Smurf, you got anything you want to talk about regarding control movement?
No, I just think it's a very good. I think the way the rule is going is definitely in the right direction. I'm looking forward to that because that was definitely a point of contention, I feel, with previous seasons. Like, oh, this why didn't this robot get counted out, or why did this robot get counted out? And it was just it'll be nice that it'll be more consistent from here on out. And I'm looking forward to that. It'll make for better fights, I feel.
100%. And it's just, and then what people, there's this group of people think it's all rigged and it's a reality show and we script everything. And I hate that. Really, that burns me to the core because it's not, and it's in our ethos not to do that. And so I really, really, really want to keep evolving these rules to make it clear that this is a sport. It's still going to have fuck ups, and it's still going to have some moments where things like, huh? That's rigged. It's still going to have that. You'll never get away with that. I mean, what did the NBA spent like $1 jillion on their referee, satellite suite in Chicago, where professional refs watch every game and radio in to the refs on the court side and say, nope, that was a foul. Because they want it to be fair. They want it to be for real. And humans are fallible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Refs are going to make mistakes. Judges are going to make mistakes. Audiences are going to make mistakes too. So just it's that constant evolution. It's that constant march towards trying to get it as close to perfection as we can, which we'll never do, but we'll try.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing lots of that stuff implemented, and I have a feeling it's gonna definitely gonna be successful on my end as it was on your end live. So
yeah, I think you guys will be pleased.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Topic number 3. This is probably the smallest one of the 5. Ribot mentioned this when they made an appearance on the podcast, and I heard Uppercut was also kind of would have been affected by this if they were in this season. Voltage.
Yeah.
And so
they did a great job. So Fred from Valkyrie is now with Ripperoni, and the Ribot guys and Uppercut guys made this great presentation about voltage, and it's how high voltage stuff is actually very safe nowadays, and they made some considerations for what teams who wanted to use high voltage would do. They presented it to Trey and our lead of safety, Luke and myself and Peter Abramson, the bot whisperer. And it made a lot of sense, but in the end, Trey's the boss, and he's the guy who goes in there and separates the robots with the crowbar because he doesn't want anyone to get hurt. If someone's going to get hurt when a robot gets a stray radio signal and he's pulling them apart and the weapon fires, he wants to take that bullet. He doesn't want someone else to take that bullet. And because that's him, he says, you know what? I want the voltage to be equalized across the field. So we're going to keep it at what it has always said in the rules, and we're not going to do these exceptions for these high voltage bots anymore. Sorry. And Uppercut, as we all know, didn't come back this season. I think not mostly. I think there was some other things that forced that decision. It wasn't just the rules.
Yeah, what I heard
Alex Satori was busy.
Yeah, what I've heard in Discord is that school stuff got in the way or something like that.
Yeah. But Ribot pivoted, and Ribot, was equal. It's just as competitive as it always has been, if not more, this season.
Which that's Pory's favorite robot.
Be rooting for. It's just there's some cool motors you can take advantage of if you go high voltage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that you can't do now. So you have to kind of go back to an older mindset and not being able to take advantage of the latest and coolest, greatest thing. But that's just the way it's going to have to be while we still have, a human who has to go in and potentially separate robots when they get mangled together. If we ever got a robot to pull them apart, then maybe we could go high voltage. These things are going to evolve too, right? I mean, the walking class that Mark Satrakian was sort of introducing, in the foyer at the live show, I believe he uses pretty high voltage motors to make all that stuff happen. So there's going to be a discussion about that. coming here as that class, that division becomes more viable to actually put inside the arena. And, you know, maybe there's a revisiting of these high voltage motors in the future. But for now, safety, keep it where it's at.
Yeah, the Ribot team mentioned it was a pretty relatively simple change to their robot to be able to address that, and mentioned that the robot should still be performing performing like the same, if not better, like what you said. And
right.
hopefully,
there's some cool tech you can take advantage of.
Will get another deep Ribot run that he probably wants. So
right. You know, when you're an engineer and you see these latest cool stuff, you want to play with it. You want to put it in the thing, you know.
Absolutely. And so yeah, you kind of addressed this one already, but topic number 4 is unsticking the robots. It's for this season because we did have a few we did have like one big inconsistency with that last season that even
we didn't
actually was talking about in the Facebook group.
No, so that one. So there is here's the problem: is the show we have unsticks all the time.
Yes,
all the time. The show doesn't put them in.
Yep, I know a few of them.
So in past seasons they don't show them because they're tight on time. They got to make their edit. They just cut them away and they magically disappear. You know, Trey and I and Aaron have been sort of like, you know, that's kind of a reality show trick that we don't like. This is a sport. We got to keep it real. Aaron agreed. And we threw for that last season, we showed the unsticks, which bit us in the ass because the cardinal rule of unsticks is you only unstick when it's safe. And that determination comes from Trey, who's in the arena right next to the bots. And so when Witch Doctor got stuck, Trey saw it was safe. Minotaur's over here. He lost a wheel. And they pulled out. It was easy enough to pull out Witch Doctor and restart the fight. When Whipflash got stuck, Cobalt is over here with this raging weapon going on, and the green light still is on, even though Matt can say, I can slow the weapon down with my remote. I can slow it down with my remote. Trey says, I want to see the green light go off because the green light is telling me that it's still got power. If this gets a stray signal and it's right next to me, and it's not high centered or anything. I mean, it was high centered, but it's not lost a wheel like Minotaur did. I want that off. And because a piece of metal got stuck into their switch, Cobalt switch from, I think, Whipflash, they couldn't turn it off, physically turn it off. They could do it with the remote, but Trey says, the remote is not good enough. I want it off before we're going to pull Whipflash out. Because that robot, to me, with that dangerous weapon, is way more is too dangerous. Minotaur was in that situation. It lost a wheel. It wasn't going to spin around and get him. It's his call.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's his call. So unfortunately, Whipflash got screwed on that thing because they didn't get the benefit of the restart, and Cobalt won that fight. I believe that's what happened, right? I mean, if you look at it, if you look at the fight, Cobalt was kicking Whipflash's butt anyway, so it was probably going to go that way anyway. But anyway, what this all said to us is like, let's go back to what we did 2 seasons prior, which is no unsticks unless they're stuck together. If they're stuck to the arena, we're not unsticking you. We had this rule back, I think, in the late ABC, like season 2 time, right? And if you're stuck in the arena, it's too dangerous. We don't want to go in and unstick you and do all this hoopla, and like, because you saw what happened in the Cobalt fight. You got to pull the batteries out and you do all this crap. No unsticks unless you're stuck together. Then Duck fought Cobalt in whatever that was, season 3. And it was the best fight ever, and Duck wins because Cobalt got stuck. So the rule team said, okay, well, we'll do unsticks here and this and this and this. But Trey's always saying only if it's safe. That is the overarching thing. And no one ever saw them because they got cut out of the shows anyway, except in season 6, where you saw 2 or 3 of them, and they seemed to the audience as being inconsistent. They weren't, because we were just following the safety rule first, but that wasn't probably well explained enough. And so we decided, screw this. People are mad at us. The audience is, pitchforks and Frankenstein going to kill us. Let's just go back to no unsticks. You get stuck on anything in the arena. That was the other thing too, because we will not unstick you from the saws, the screws, the hammer will only unstick you. We're not going to unstick you from high center debris. So there was this laundry list of like, we'll unstick you for this, but we won't unstick you for that. So as for Chris and Kenny to tell that story, it's too confusing. So screw it. No one sticks unless you're stuck together. That's easily, you see they're stuck together. You get the crowbars out, you unstick them. Again, if it's unsafe or it's taking too much time, we'll kill it and either restart the match a later time or go to the judges. And 99% of the time it's going to go to the judges because we have no time to restart matches. And there's a rule that says if it goes more than 2 minutes, it can't be restarted anyway. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
blah, 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 blah. So no one sticks unless they're stuck together, which is a great way to do it. And the good news is, there was a few times where robots did get stuck to the arena. And a lot of times the other robots smashed into them and kept the fight going, which is what I would always hope would happen.
Yeah, I know Smee was attempting to free Deep Six when Deep Six got stuck in the kill saw slot just to try to keep the fight going, but then unfortunately,
and in a world of 4
out.
fights,
it gives you more chances. So
people are probably the builders are probably more willing to try to unstick a stuck robot because if this backfires on me, I got 3 more.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Including like because I remember Whiplash was hoping to get that 3rd fight last season because like Whiplash wanted to continue testing out the robot before the bracket because like what they said at the end of the Scorpios fight, they looked to find all the gremlins during the qualifiers rather than during the bracket where could possibly cost them the match. So
that's exactly, and again, that's why 4 fights and announcing the schedule is just the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Pory or Smurf, either of you two got any opinions on or anything else to say about the unsticking stuff?
I just think it's a good idea to go in the direction it's going for sure.
Yeah, I bet there's going to be something's going to occur where the Facebook group's gonna start talking about it, like what Cobalt Duck happened there, where I think fans were arguing about Cobalt getting stuck there despite winning that fight, but it's just it's something where you can't really get out of it regardless, because
and that's back when the floor was much thinner. Floor is a lot thicker now. Floor still gets beat to crap, but the getting high centered on the floor is far less likely these days than it was back in the earlier days. There's still debris that happens on the floor during fights. The set screw thing with Charles and Overhaul. We've got a great team of crew bots who are sweeping up like maniacs in between the fights, which everyone who comes to the live show sees and applauds because those guys work their asses off. So that's been minimized as well.
Perfect. And so the 5th topic that I then got is judges' decision appeals, which was added for this season.
Yeah. So we we're working with Adam, which is basically the representative of all the builders. So it's basically working with all the builders. They elected him as their spokesperson. And what was clear is that the builders wanted an appeal, like a lot of sports have, to overturn to have the ability to overturn a judge's decision. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the judges watch from that side portion of the box, next to Chris and Kenny, next to me, next to Pete. And now next to Mike Jeffries, our match steward. And they're not seeing it all 9 cameras, 11 cameras, whatever it is across the box. You are, that we're not. And I've been there where I've seen matches that like, oh, he kicked his ass easily. And then I'll watch it on the TV show and I'll be like, oh, wait, that wasn't so clear because I didn't see certain back angles from the other sides of the arena where certain hits were made because I'm seeing the butt of the robot and not the front. So yeah, sometimes some things can be inaccurate because of that. The judges do have monitors, but you're glued to what's really going on. You don't want to look down and see it from another angle, right? I'll do that when it gets over in the corner and I can't see anymore. And so we agreed with Adam and said, okay, you can have an appeal. So what you do is you go to the match steward, which is a new position, because I don't want him going to me. I'm a founder of the sport. The optics on that are not good, right? You go to an official. It's like we took a page out of the F1 book. You go to the match steward. Mike Jeffries is well beloved and well respected in the community. Helped us with a lot of these rules. Great guy. You explain why the judges screwed up. My weapon was still spinning at the end of the thing. They couldn't possibly have scored it as a 4-1 damage, right? My weapon, it should be a 3-2 damage at the very least, if not a 2-3, because my thing was still spinning at the end, or whatever it is, right? And then Mike explains that to the judges. The judges asked for replays, and this probably happened 4 or 5 times during last season. And the judges would watch that. Probably there was one fight they rewatched 3 times from all the different angles because they really wanted to get it perfect. I don't want to give you a spoiler, so I won't say what happens, how many were overturned and how many weren't. But it's an interesting process and a good process, and it gives those builders a chance to say, no, you guys missed something, and here's what you missed. I'm going to tell you what you missed. They watched it in the replays. Oh, I did miss it. I changed my scores. Oh, no, I did miss it. I did see that, and I took it under consideration. You, builder, didn't see this. I'm leaving my scores as is. Does it change? Does it not change? We'll see. But it's a great addition to give the builders that ability to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm guessing Adam really brought like the Malice Shatter fight into consideration, because I know Shatter, at least during the interview, Adam seemed to have felt he won, and even Bunny mentioned on Instagram that she thought Shatter won that fight as well, but then of course went in the Malice direction. And and even Lisa Winter, who made an appearance on one of Scorpios' Builder blog videos, even mentioned her supports for that idea, which pretty much about the same reasoning you mentioned, because it's possibly from her perspective that she might miss something that she should have taken into consideration in that match when determining the judge's decision. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a big arena, and the cameras see things better than the human eyeballs.
Yeah.
And so
including there's even the upper deck short corners that
that's when it goes into the short corner, that's when I look down at my monitor to see what's going on. But again, that's only from one camera's angle.
Yeah.
So 90% of the time, a lot of people get hung up on the judges stuff. Most of the time they get it pretty damn right, especially when you see the scorecards, which I think we should post on the show. We do sometimes, but we should do it all the time, I think. You see, oh, was that close? It was a 6-5, 6-5, 6-5, or whatever it is, 3, then you go, okay, that passes the smell test. But when you just hear someone won unanimously, you're like, what? But you don't realize it was a 6-5, 6-5, 6-5, right?
Yeah, because I liked when you showed the judges' scorecards for the Kraken and Hijinks fight, because like that was a fight where I was initially thinking that Kraken should have won that fight, but then when I saw the scorecards and showed off and looked at the rule book for all 3 categories. So
I have them here. This is last season.
Wow.
And anyone who emails me wants to look at them, I'll take a picture of them and send them.
Yeah, including seeing some of the scorecards on the Twitter for Battlebots.
Yeah, I do that because I want the fans to see how close it was. Anyway, but the judges, they get it 90% of the time. Damn, they get it right.
Yeah, because like it's another one of those things where like it's not possible to like do everything perfectly. Basically, like they're going to get something wrong at some point.
And those imperfections are really these edge cases that happen in percentages wise, very small percentage of the cases. Yeah. And but hey, if it's the tournaments on the line, the giant nuts on the line, you got to get it right, and that's why you have the appeal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know there was a lot of because I know Reddit in the Facebook group was kind of on fire after the Tantrum Hydra decision.
Well, that's it exactly. Jake would have appealed that.
Yep.
And then the judges would have watched from every angle, and a determination would have been made of what the because damage was really the category, I think.
Yeah, I personally would have agreed with the decision. I felt Tantrum barely edged that one out, but that's one of those judges' decisions where like that could have gone either way. It was a great back and forth battle
It was
between those two
split.
robots, and yeah, split decision.
People don't remember it was split, and it was Lisa who voted for Tantrum, and she always gets the brunt of the you know, the anger.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of arguments online like that where people are like mad at Lisa over the Tantrum Hydra fight. And I'm like,
it's like she
know,
voted
she
for,
agreed with you.
for Hydra.
Yeah.
But anyway, now you could watch replay after replay after replay and see, you know, what the better determine about the aggression, the damage, and the control.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is definitely a great addition, and
Yeah,
should hopefully help with that. So
yeah, there is a Tantrum Hydra rematch this season. Yeah,
and a Minotaur Witch Doctor rematch.
And a Minotaur Witch Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
that should definitely be interesting.
Yeah, both those
it's
will be interesting. Including there's also a rematch of my favorite 2019 fight coming too. So
which one was that?
Minotaur and Redacted.
Oh, okay.
Well, I can't spoil too much of the supporter content. So yeah, become a supporter to find out.
It's not a spoiler after Thursday.
Yeah. Wait until the 5th or pay the $5 to get supporter content. You could also get the first fight card. So which was
out.
Recently.
So the first fight card will drop tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time.
Ooh. Yeah, because I recorded a prediction podcast for that based on that fight card, and then wasn't sure if I was going to be releasing that, if it was go public or not. And
just a quick aside while we're here talking about the premiere is we did 2 specials this season, hour-long specials, nastiest knockouts and most outrageous moments. Nastiest knockouts, it's the top 10 of the nastiest knockouts. It's going to be on right after the premiere. So don't turn off the TV after the show ends. Keep watching. It'll be another hour of great stuff. And what I love about it is that it's pretty much 90% of the builders talking about the fight and like what they did right, what they did wrong. The pain that, oh God, why are you showing me that clip again when I lost? And you really get to know the builders and their personalities and their senses of humor. It's a funny show. It's really fun to watch. And it's unlike, you don't get enough of that in the championship TV show part of it. So this is a sort of a cool new perspective on robot combat. So please watch.
Yeah, that's one of the other fun parts of inviting builders or people involved with Battlebots onto this podcast, because like you really get to know the builders. It's really fun getting to talk about this kind of stuff with people actually like way more involved than me in this sport. And it's a really fun time, and some of my favorite podcasts that I've ever done, which this will definitely be added on the list of that. They've all been builder interviews or something like this right here. So
yeah, it's just fun getting a rotator's perspective on being knocked out by glitch.
Yes.
I remember seeing the retro
wheel.
and having the 2020 hindsight to analyze what happened, because when they do those post-match interviews, all the builders are in this fog of war. They're in this like fugue state of like their adrenaline is draining, and they're so to get some really lucid interpretations of fights is sometimes difficult because they're just jacked. So a year later, 5 years later, they really can then have this great perspective on these fights, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think we talked on all the changes that I was hoping to talk to. So, figured we'd get to the questionnaire part of this. Pory, I'll first ask the questions that other co-hosts ask, and I'll just leave the floor right to you then following that. So,
no problem.
Cool.
Okay, so. Spin Doctor, one of the co-hosts on this podcast who wasn't able to be here today, was wondering how are alternates selected for this competition?
It's bots that we think are really cool, but not quite top 50 ready. And we want them to be there, if someone bails or can't pass safety or can't make their schedule. So we know we can rely on them. So we have that confidence in them. But, maybe they're still working on the weapon system, or it's still not 100% yet, so they'll always be probably 5 to 6 alternates in Battlebots because you need it just for contingency sake, and you want to give, and they'll always get fights. It's not like they just sit there on the sidelines. You'll see many alternate fights this season. You're going to see, the double taps and the Doombas fighting it out.
Yeah, I know
sure.
it was confirmed. I know the Scorpios team confirmed Dragon King will be getting a fight.
You'll see Dragon King fight.
I think it's unknown. I think it's unknown, at least to me, if Samurai is getting a fight or not.
Samurai did get a fight. That one probably won't get broadcast because that was pure filler for the audience as we got ready for literally like the championship.
So kind of like the Tombstone tantrum, but of this upcoming season rather than 2018.
Exactly. We'll have the footage. Maybe we can put it on YouTube or something, but that one probably won't make it because that was more towards the Sin City Slugfest side of things, towards that very, very last day. But they did get a fight. Those guys were fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we'll get to see it at least, but
no
judgment if we don't. So because like I know Brazil's had a great reputation of like bringing in really entertaining robots to Battlebots, and I was really looking forward to maybe seeing Samurai in a fight or something, figuring that they could have similar expectations.
And they're fun as hell competitors and put on great shows, so we love those guys.
It's one of the reasons why I support Minotaur and Black Dragon, like not just because their robots have performed really well in the arena and we've gotten entertaining fights out of them, but the teams are really fun.
The teams are fantastic. Yeah. No, so alts are just people on the cusp who are, can't give them that 50. There's no 51st spot, right? But damn, this robot's good. So you're an alt. A lot of people don't want to be alts. They say, no, I want guaranteed 4 fights. I don't want to sit there and wait for a fight, maybe get 1 or 2. So, you just go down the list. But they've got to be, people we can rely on and people we know who could jump right in. That's why, Manny and Big Deal has been an alt for 2 years now, but he gets in this time and he qualifies for the World Championship.
Huge credit to him, of course, for helping out Jaeger last season and
100%.
being able to make that thing make that thing a reality in the main competition. So, I think you addressed all Spin's other questions already, but Zaza, one of our other friends who attended Battlebots Live this year, had some questions as well, all of them really outside of this upcoming season. He was wondering what some of the other alternates were in the 2016 season, which was the year Tombstone won, because I think we knew Yeti was an alternate. I think Ultraviolet.
Oh, I don't remember. Well. I mean, Yeti. The sort of the Cinderella stories of alternates were Yeti.
Yeah.
And Bite Force.
Bite Force was an alternate.
I think in season 1, Bite Force was an alternate.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I think that was, and Yeti. There was a couple other ones, but anyway, I mean, there's very big Cinderella stories with alternates, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
like with the live show,
alternates there were several, and was curious if you knew any of the others. And
I don't remember. I'd have to go back to the
that's
all of the spreadsheets. Sorry.
And then his next question from the first Discovery season, he was wondering what seeds Scorpios and Warhead would have gotten if they were able to partake in the postseason. And if they didn't have to drop out.
I don't remember that.
That's fine.
What season was that?
That was 2018.
Season 3.
Yeah, there's no way I'd remember that. I barely remember the last season.
Yeah, if I took a guess, I bet Scorpios would have been the 15 seed and Warhead would have been the 16 seed because of strength of schedule. And,
probably.
Yeah,
these things happen.
I felt Scorpios had the better quality loss of the bunch with the.
I'll tell you this: the debate on seeding is very robust and very. We're in that trailer, and that's when normally it's like Pete and Aaron and Greg, and we're figuring out matchups, and it's 90% Aaron, and with Pete and Greg chiming in saying, "Oh, he's not gonna be ready. Don't do that fight tomorrow." No, and now everything's been scheduled in advance, so we don't even do that anymore. But when we get to the seeding, it's like Trey comes in, Tom Gutteridge comes in, Chris Cowan comes in, the guy from the network, Wyatt comes in. Pete, it's full of people who really are like, okay, no, that matchup, no, that dude kicked that robots, but you got to give him a higher seed. There's these lively debates. We used to call it the chair throwing meeting. We never threw any chairs, but it was good.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, for his third question, do you know of any canceled fights you would have gotten? And then he listed off as a few examples that apparently he heard we were supposed to get Pain Train and Slapbox in 2020. And then I think I heard from Pory actually that we were originally going to get Rusty and Rampage, which turned into Mammoth versus Rampage.
That's probably true. I don't remember. I mean, a lot of stuff happens where a bot just isn't ready, and you've got an audience who paid ticket money, and you've got union camera people who are there, or they go into OT, and you've got a quota to make for fights for the TV channel. So you can't make it, throw that rope. You can make it. I'm on the radio, who can make it? Who do we got? So, Scorpius will do it. Scorpius always will do it, right? Okay, throw him in. Let's do it.
Yeah, I suppose very
Aaron,
similar.
Scorpius is going to do it. Okay, hold on. Let me change the writing stuff. The Farouk intros.
Yeah, because I remember hearing, I think this was also from Pory, that Beta and Grabot was originally going to be Beta and Sharko, but then Pory told me that Sharko apparently wasn't ready, and so Grabot came in, I think is what Pory said.
That stuff happens all the time, and there's no way I have any recollection of the details. But every tournament, every day, every session, there's 2 sessions per day, probably that happens like 2 times, except in the new thing, because when you pre-announce it, people can get ready on the 3 to 4 days they have of prep time that we start the tournament with. So again, another reason why predetermined schedule is such a great way to do it, because you don't have these swaps anymore. You're basically swapping the whole fight. You're not swiping individual members of a fight. You're just pushing fights down because someone needs a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now Zaza's last question. This one's the humorous one of the bunch. Basically, if you had the authority in the room for this, would you accept Cone Army? And then would you have Cone Army fight Tombstone in the qualifiers?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. My dream has been to have Tombstone. We get contacted from talk shows a lot of times, right? Like Jimmy Kimmel or something like. And, oftentimes it doesn't happen because it winds up being too expensive, because they have to erect barriers to protect audiences and whatnot. But for a while there, we were pitching Tombstone versus 100 Roombas in the back parking lot in Burbank. And I would love to see Cone Army fight Tombstone. That would be the funniest thing on the planet Earth.
Yeah, Zaza had introduced me to Cone Army yesterday. Then the first thing I see when I go to the Battlebots wiki page on Cone Army is that it's said quoted right on the top, and I'll include a screenshot in this for the actual YouTube video. It says Tombstone can't beat 37 cones, and
it's like those videos where they have three T-Rexes beat 5,000 Spartans. It's just like, I want to see that fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
It'd be even though I have a feeling Tombstone would probably destroy all 37 of those. It'd be really funny to see.
It would be hilarious. It'd be a mess to clean up. The reason why these fights don't happen is because imagine staging that. You've got, first of all, the remote controls to control 30 robots that you have to all be on separate frequencies and and then the turning on and off procedures. Because the fans on the show never see the activation deactivation sequence. And that is probably the most dangerous time, is turning the robot on, because it's got to lock onto that signal. You don't want it to take off across the arena. And digital radios have gotten much better than the old analog radios. And then turning it off, because it has to become a brick. You can't pull this thing out of the arena if it's got anything live. It's got to be a brick, right? So now you got to do that for 30 cones. They're not dangerous, but just the logistics of it is insane. And then the mess it would make. And so we would be shut down. We're trying to do matches on like a 20-minute, time frame, right? Whatever it is, 21, 22 minutes, I forget. But with 30 cones and a Tombstone and then the pre-match activation and the deactivation and the cleanup, we'd probably spend 90 minutes doing it and would hose the day. So that's why they don't happen. But we now have a permanent facility in Las Vegas. So maybe someday.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think you addressed Blaze's question earlier in this. Smurf, actually, he had one he wanted me to ask you. What robots from the Comedy Central era would you like to see make a comeback?
I would love to see Biohazard come back. Not just really Biohazard, but I'd love to see Carlo come back.
Ooh, yes.
And Carlo's been teasing for a while that he would come back, and he's actually designed something, and we've approved it. He just doesn't, we always start, Carlos is very exact, he wants to build it, plan it, and execute. And we usually get these green lights from the network so late that we have a tight window of execution, that for someone like Carlos says, no, that's not enough time for me, I'm not going to do it. But I would love to get him back. I'd love to get Gage back, just because I built Law Machine with Trey and Gage, so it'd be fun to have my old teammate back in the arena doing something with Vlad or whatever.
I know Kara, one of our other friends, would want World Peace to return.
World Peace, sure. Ziggo, Jonathan Ritter, he was going to build some stuff, but just couldn't get it together in time. So I'd love to see if Jonathan Ritter come back. It would be fantastic. I always love Zach Bieber and El Diablo, and he's building a Showbot, but he's busy with his company now, but it'd be fun. He always builds cool stuff. Mark's Trackian. I hope we really get this walking division off the ground that he's been inspiring with Stalker, his 6-legged hexapod robot.
Maybe we'll see a return of Chomp then, if
fantastic.
that happens.
I think Zoe's always had 2 kids, 3 kids. She's had she's got a growing family, and she's very busy working on the clock of the long now with all the people at Applied Invention, including Pete and Yasha, from the Judge. I think Yasha coming back with something pneumatic that maybe wasn't walking, because Chomp is Yasha and Zoe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it'd be great to see something like the Judge come back, because that Chomp hammer, that's Judge technology, right?
Yep.
So Shatter's fantastic, but the Judge, just the raw power of it is insane.
It was a cool robot.
Yeah, so I would like to see something like that. One of my favorite robots was from the Robot Wars days was Thor, that Law Machine beat, but it had such a violent hydraulic hammer that no one's really even done since then. Would be great to see something like that come back. That would be
part of it's in Battlebots, because Jason's on Team Beta, from what I know. And
really, okay. So I thought the Thor guys were from California, I thought. But anyway,
it was an American Thor. It's different from the one that was on Robot
different
Wars.
one. Oh, different one. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking
Thor
I was thinking Robot Wars Thor.
Thor was Schilling Robotics back in the San Francisco Robot Wars days. Yeah. But the OG Robot Wars. Anyway, but
perfect.
And Tazbot is coming back for the Destructathon along with Overkill, Christian Karlberg. So we're gonna get a taste of a few here, which is a lot of fun.
All right.
Awesome.
Pory, I believe that's all the questions I have from other people, so I'll leave the floor to you.
Okay, so first off, one thing I'm very curious about asking you is I want to learn more about the world of BattleBots Lost Media. I did a video like last year about like various cases of BattleBots Lost Media, and I was just wondering, is there any chance that the Comedy Central basement tapes could ever be released?
So it's a tangle of image rights.
Okay.
So when you do a TV contract, when you do a TV show, there's a certain ownership that the network wants to take to make such a huge investment into filming it, right? It's a big chunk of money it takes to do a union sanctioned TV show with post-production and talent. And so they're biting off a big chunk of money there. So they want to own they want they want some skin in the game, and that's that's rights in the show, so they can sell it internationally and do all this kind of stuff. So we do own the fight footage of the Comedy Central stuff. We don't own the episodes and the wraparounds and the interstitials with the funny bits and all that stuff, but we do own the fight footage. But getting it out of the archives from Paramount, Comedy Central got bought by this company, who got bought by that company, who then sold to that company, who then merged with that company. To get it all out is such a rat's nest. It's just not practical while we're so busy, because a lot of people think BattleBots is some behemoth corporate mega complex company. It's just basically Trey and Greg and a few folks at the shop who build the arena, and then Well Rock, who's our beloved production company, and 90% of the crew is hired on just for that show, and then they all disappear, and then all this mountain of work that has to be done, when the show's not going on, is just done by us. So bandwidth wise, it's really difficult to pull those kinds of things off. So I don't think the Comedy Central stuff will ever see the light of day, unless someone outside of the organization has a huge passion and wants to deal with it.
Pory.
Goes.
I would,
but like literally, like because Trey has all of the old tapes in his garage, but there's no more beta machines. Those machines don't exist anymore. They're out there, but you'd have to do that. You have to edit it. You'd have to digitize it, make it into some sort of cool format that people want to watch. We'd have to make sure the rights are secured, lawyers, phone calls. It's just like we've got a live show to produce in Vegas, and we've got a TV show that's still, we've only edited up to episode 6 at this point. So we just don't have the bandwidth. So, but maybe someday.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
And speak on the same note of editing episodes, I was really curious. I was doing research on the 2019 series that Almost Was, and how there was like, I know there's one episode that's on YouTube, and as I was doing my research, I saw that like initially the episode was on YouTube to like rent. Like, was that a plan to just like put them all out that way?
Yes, the plan was to rent, because at the time YouTube had a rental thing you could do. We thought, let's try it out, because Trey invested, he paid for the whole thing, and he wanted a little return on the investment for the CBS College Sports thing. And I don't think CBS College Sports wound up ever playing it. So we just, I forget whether we did or not. But so we wound up editing it ourselves. Trey and I even do the voiceover, which is terrible. It's like super embarrassing, you hearing us going like, trying to be like future Chris and Kenny's. Oh my God. It's just, we're so bad at it. But yeah, one episode we finished, and then the rest were in various states of unfinishedness. And Trey is the keeper of that and knows what state they're all in. There was a cool fight with early prototype of Tombstone and Donald, I think, where Donald, this is the one cool thing that probably should be seen, is Donald built a bot that got kicked out of the arena and it crawled back in, which is why people always ask, why did the refs make the count out when someone's kicked out of the arena? That's so stupid, right? Because it's out. It can't get back in the arena. Well, it's an homage to Donald, who crawled back into the arena.
That's amazing.
Yes. But Trey's got that footage, and we own the rights for that. So, maybe one day when we're not busy here, or there's, somebody with a lot of passion and some video editing skills, might be able to get some of that stuff online. Yeah. Call Trey.
Passion in video editing.
Call Trey.
Yeah, definitely. Because I would be really interested in seeing that have the light of day. And the big question about that footage, is there footage of Gear Crow in the 2009 season?
Yeah, we brought him in on stage, and Donald demoed him. It didn't move that much back then. It was still, in this very early prototype of it, but he brought it on stage. I got pictures of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen pictures, but I've never seen like footage of it like actually in action, except like in the opening of the 2009 episode. There's like a half a second where you see Gear Crow like behind the logo.
He shows it. I think he was able to lift it up on its 2 legs, but he hadn't got it walking yet, but he was able to get it to lift up kind of RoboCop style, like, which is awesome. Cool. It was so awesome that one of these instances where we were pitching the show, it's a funny story. So we got canceled from Comedy Central, and we hooked up with so many different production companies and pitched Battlebots to probably every network 2 or 3 times. And we hooked up with the guy from American Idol, and we hooked up with this dude. We hooked up with people from Fox. Eventually, we hooked up with, I kid you not, Mark Burnett, who's the reality show king, Survivor and all those shows, The Apprentice, right? And partnered with James Cameron.
What?
Swear to God. And so Discovery, before this show, said, oh yeah, we want that show. James Cameron, and Mark Burnett, we don't even care what it is. We want it. And it was so blown up, like, because with those 2 names attached to it, it had to be the craziest robots you've ever seen. And I was telling the network execs, like, well, we could do that, but each team needs like $100,000 to build the robots, if not more. and it didn't pan out. But anyway, I forgot what my point was. But that was so we brought Gear Crow to the upfronts, which is where all the TV shows show off to the press how cool they're going to be, and also all the media buyers who do for the commercials, right? So they can see, oh my God, this is going to make so much revenue for buying TV commercials, the ad buy people. Anyway, so Gear Crow appeared in Madison Square Garden in New York or something with the Discovery executives talking about Robo-Geddon. They changed our name to Robo-Geddon. And once they did that, I went to Trey and I'm like, dude, they can't change our brand name. That's us. That is the thing we created. They want to change it to Robo-Geddon. Anyway, that fizzled out. And then luckily at one of these upfronts was our friend Jamie from Mythbusters. And Jamie said, he said, oh, you guys got to talk to my friends at Whale Rock. We do this thing called Tested, Adam and I, and they're great. Go check them out. So we met with Whale Rock. We met Chris Cowan, the head of TV over there. And Chris was probably the best freaking TV executive guy I've ever met. Super smart and super huge sports fan. And we're going to make, he believed in what Trey and I wanted to believe. This is a true sport. We're going to celebrate the builders. We're going to celebrate the sport. And that's what the show should be. It shouldn't be, I love the Comedy Central show and I love what Mac and Bradley did to it, but we're not going to make little sketches and skits out of it. We're going to do the real deal. So he believed in it, same vision as we, and so we hooked up with them and the rest is history. So we have Jamie helped us hook that up. So thank you, Jamie, for helping us. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see him return.
Yeah, no,
like a new
Blendo, right? If Blendo came back, that would be fantastic.
That would be really hype.
Adam and Jamie, and I wish Grant was, God rest his soul, but if Grant was still alive, bring back something like Dead Blow.
I would love that so much.
Yeah.
Another big question: is there any possibility of a future BattleBots video game?
Oh man, we want a video game so bad. So, the video game world is one of these things where nowadays you really need a publisher and a developer. You need the team, right? Because otherwise you'll never get the shelf space that you need to get in retail to make it successful. Yes, there's Steam. Yes, there's mobile. And we would totally do that, right? We would totally do a Steam independent game. We would totally do a mobile game. We've talked to companies again and again and again. There's always these projects that start up and then they go down, right? For whatever reason. We were so close to a mobile game for BattleBots, but with Discovery being split, merged, and a lot of upheaval happening because of the Warner Brothers thing, that department who was managing that project, gone. And the game, gone. So we've got the slot machine, but that's not quite right. But no, it's something that we are pursuing all the time. We have feelers out, but if there's a publisher / developer out there, independent, mobile, big console, whatever the hell it is, we want to do it. And it's so obvious what the game should be. It's in it, and there's such a universe you could create with different arenas and all of the building and fixing and the buying and selling of parts in sort of a community. You just model it after what really goes on, and the sponsors you could get and all the achievements you could make and unlock along the way. Not to mention just the pure fun of fighting and how these physics engines have come along since we actually did have a game on the Game Boy Advanced. And we almost had that PlayStation game. I mean, people still have those bootleg copies of it.
I played it. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now think of that on a modern console, right?
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
It'd be insane. So we want to do it. It's just the money it would take to develop it is millions. It would take 18 months. And I think developers are always a little scared about doing TV shows because what if it gets canceled? Because you're always 18 to 2 years out on development, and that means the show's got to last at least another 3 seasons because you've got to build it during 2 seasons and then you got to sell it during 1 season, if not more. And if you get canceled, all that investment goes to hell. So it's difficult. It's a big challenge. But I would love to do it.
Yeah, I'm hoping it happens one day. That'd be incredible. I'd play it all the time.
Yeah, same here.
Totally. Yeah.
I'd pre-purchase it if it's available on Steam.
No, it'd be so much fun. And then, and the builders get, the builders get a chunk of all these licensing things that we do, right? We have to share with the network, we have to share with Whale Rock, but the builders get a nice percentage of it. And the more merchandising things that can come out, the more all of us benefit. So
Yeah, kind of like when
yes,
Bryce
yes,
Farrell
yes.
did the bit bot. I'm not gonna the poker chip thing, kind of where he was able to get a poker chip design from every single team, and then he kind of splits the profits from that amongst all the teams, to where the teams are able to use those as extra funds for the robots.
Licensing is, you can make some, the licensor is usually the person who, like the toys, for example, right? Hexbugs puts in the majority of the cash, so they get the majority of the cash out because they're building it, prototyping it, paying a big factory in China to make them all, advertising, retail. But it's the more of those you can have, the more that goes into the pockets of everybody, the builders, Battlebots, Whale Rock, a little bit Discovery. Yeah, it's a good thing. Keeps the show alive, because it's a struggle to keep it alive because it's not cheap to produce.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You got any other questions, Pory?
No, I think that's it. I was mostly curious about the world of lost media for sure. Oh,
one thing.
Speaking of lost media, I was wondering, is there any possibility that we could get Sweet Revenge versus Radioactive, Mohawk versus Hypershock, and Sporkanock versus Hypershock from the Bounty Hunter season? Because those are the only modern era fights, as far as I can think of, that are like not existent in full.
Yeah, so and that was season 1, like the Sweet Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
The I don't even know, isn't that up? Didn't I put that up on the website?
Nope, that one and Hypershock
so.
Mohawk never made it to the YouTube channel or anything.
That was back in the day where I was not as involved in the post. I wasn't even doing the social media. There was like hardly anything as social media back then, and I was definitely not involved in the post production as much as I am these days. Now I think Whale Rock made the decision that the fight was so boring, and they had this huge package on Nola Garcia and her Catholic Girls School team, and Billy and Starbot and all the great things they're doing, and it was like the most perfect ABC tear jerking, package, and then the robot just died, never got working. So I think they just completely just canned it and shelved it. I don't even know where the footage is. The footage actually, behind me you can't see it, but there's hard drives right here with everything that I have to back up to a secret place on the internet. Maybe it's in there. Again, see, we need just like a legion of video interns who want to just go dive in and grab this stuff, and we can pull it out. Again, though, it's rights. ABC owns the rights to that, so we've got to navigate that somehow.
Yeah, it's Pory. I remember, because we were discussing this quite a few times when we've been in VC. We were trying to figure out the first fight of each season, and I remember there was one we were missing. I don't remember which season that was.
The rehearsal fights that you used to test out the the camera.
Oh, but those aren't real fights. Those are never real fights.
I think we're just wondering. I think we're more just wondering who it was.
Yeah, because we figured them out for every season except for 2.
It's nearly always Zach, from Scorpius and Donald, right? Because those guys are always ready. I'm sure it's been other people. I just forget. At that point, I'm doing other stuff, and it's Jax or Peter in the pit who's going like, "Are you ready? You ready? They need to put someone get in the red square, blue square. They got to adjust the lights." I mean, the rehearsal stuff. That's all it is. It's fine tune the lights. The camera guys practice. They do the intro, and then the next day we actually shoot. It's just giving the camera people some time to learn their moves, the sequence.
Yeah.
Because I forget. Pory, wasn't 2015 was Chronic and Swamp Thing?
Right? Yeah, 2015 was Chronic, Swamp Thing.
That was the rehearsal fight.
Yeah. And then
that's what I heard. Yeah.
You found out from your Lost Media video it was Monsoon and Red Devil.
Really? See, I totally forget that stuff. Yeah, it's great that you guys are figuring all that stuff out.
Was 2019, Pory?
2019, I think, was
wasn't it Bombshell and Duck?
No, Bombshell Duck was just the first fight of the season.
Oh.
No, 2018 was like I forget. I actually forget who, but I know I knew
Yeah.
it at one point. Like Kraken Scorpios or something. I know that was
Yeah, see,
one
it's
for
always
one
like because
season.
the Scorpius is always ready. Kraken's another bot that's usually ready, not always. He's
Yeah.
always brings like 3 and they're just completely ready to go.
Oh yeah, it's crazy how much damage Kraken takes, and then it comes into the arena for its next fight, like as if it didn't take any damage at all in the previous fight or something like that.
Well,
Yeah, it's
these days
incredible.
people are rolling deep with multiple chassis and
Yeah.
Mm.
whatnot. Back in the day they weren't, but nowadays it's evolved where you almost have to.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, because I remember that's what Glitch did to fix kind of the issue that they had that prevented them from being able to compete in the postseason. Because I think they mentioned they had like they had multiple robots ready, or nearly ready, and which helped them get through champions and that stuff. So okay, so then if Pory doesn't have any other questions, we'll get to kind of like talking about the competition, talking about the robots. So
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and so the first thing I want to talk about is some of the newcomers here. Who are some of the newcomers that we're really, really interested in, kind of like ones to like keep an eye out for, kind of? Who do we think could possibly go on like a blip, glitch, and riptide run this season or something like that? Just whatever we're looking forward to, kind of.
I
So
mean, the obvious answer is Ripperoni, who you'll see in the first
yes,
episode.
I'm
Sort
excited
of,
for Ripperoni.
members of the Uppercut family making their own bot. Anna making her own bot with the, driving skills of Fred from Valkyrie. Using a cool new flywheel technology to hopefully counterbalance the gyroscopic precession one gets with a big giant spinning disc, and you turn but your wheels lift up and then you're vulnerable.
yeah,
Have they figured out that problem with the flywheel? Maybe, we shall see.
we'll find out.
But
Yeah,
it looks like it can hit really big and looks like it can do some major damage. It also looks like it's a really cool engineered bot. So that's definitely one to watch.
yeah. Some of the ones I'm really looking forward to. Banshee is definitely up there. Yeah, David
Yeah, I mean,
Small's always
Banshee,
showed potential with like his lighter robots and his knowledge on flippers, and I think it'll be interesting to see how well a heavyweight flipper of his performs in the battle box whenever
yeah,
we get to see it for the first
you're
time.
always wondering with these flippers, are they Hydras? Are they Luckies? Are they Sub-Zeros? What is the spectrum that they're going to launch people on? So we'll see how Banshee does.
Yeah.
Um,
I've also been interested in Emulsifier, or just because like it's a really successful lighter weight design, and definitely I know it's something it seems like Bots FC has been wanting to bring to the battle box for a long time, and
been talking about it forever, and the tank drive is something cool. Is that going to
yes,
give them more maneuverability or less? Is that going to help with the gyroscopic perception since they have such a big hitting disc? And like you said, it's like, a lightweight masterpiece, just kicking ass all over the lightweight, divisions. Can they scale it up, and can they make it competitive with the big boys?
yeah, and there's been a
Same
lot
with
of hype. There's
Horizon.
been a lot of hype for the fusion fight, and yeah, and
Oh yeah,
Horizon's actually the last one that I was thinking of between like the big three that I'm really looking forward to.
yeah, Horizon, beautiful. We've got a cool team, and Hot Coin's actually helping with the graphics and the aesthetics of it.
Oh, I love
Um,
Hotcoin's art.
yeah, and so, but it's got these two, discs at the end. Is that a good strategy? Will it actually, spin fast and do what it's supposed to do? We'll have to see, but definitely a cool design. And then, all the bots coming back that we haven't seen forever: Ominous,
Yes.
Monsoon, Death Roll, Beta. And then of course the rookies who are coming back. Glitch, can Glitch continue? It's crazy, win, because it fixed its mobility problems. Riptide, that thing that hit so hard, can it keep winning like it did? Shred it, bro.
I'm
Is
excited
what's
for it, bro.
plagued Evan in past seasons, is that gonna keep happening with his new, basically scale up of his smaller robot? Or is he going to show what he can do just like he shows in the smaller weight classes? Star Child, it's
Ooh,
not
yes.
huge. It's more of a thwack pot, right? It's more like Overkill was. So is that strategy going to work? And it's another opportunity for these other bots who fight them to have to deal with these ginormous wheels.
Yeah, I've been saying this before like Battlebot supporters like Pory and myself got the fight schedule that Star Child's gonna fight either Mammoth or Huge.
Well, of
That's
course,
my
you got to
guess.
have
And
that.
then, but no spoilers on whether I'm right or wrong on that.
Well, you'll find out
Either-
Thursday.
Yeah, either
Yeah.
find out Thursday or pay the $5 to be a
Yeah.
supporter.
Yeah.
Triton, I
Yep.
mean, a
Oh, I'm excited
horizontal, a
about
deep
that.
six. Is that going to be insane? We shall see. There's a lot, and the cool upgrades, switchbacks upgrades. Is that going to make switchback more viable, or is it still back to the drawing board? Is quantum gonna crush with the same power that it showed signals of in 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago or whatever it was?
Mhm.
I mean, who else is there? Is the vertical spinner of Kraken, right? Because remember, they're not going to be a crusher anymore. They're going to be a vertical spinner. Is Matt going to crack that code on vertical spinning when he's been a crusher for so long? There's a lot of great stories for these bots. Claw Viper, right? I mean,
I love Claw
so
Viper.
fast, right? But can it be fast and competitive? Can it do damage? Can it actually grapple people and get them again and again and again? We will have to see.
Yeah, and so
be good
Pory
stealing.
and Blaze, you're absolutely welcome to get in on this. Smurf as well. Who are some of the other rookies or robots that Munson mentioned that you're looking forward to for this upcoming season? He kind of dug into the next one, which is kind of like returning robots. And yeah, what are some of the robots that kind of have your attention?
I'm looking forward to the new free shipping, to be honest.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, free shipping with a little vertical spinner. I mean, what's that going to do? I mean, Blip, right? Blip did so fantastic last season. Is he going to have a cool sophomore season, or is it a bit of a people read the book on Blip? What's going to happen with the ground game this season? There's been some innovations out there with forks getting longer, but also getting shorter.
It seems like there are some teams that are
things?
starting to adapt to the piano key wedgelets
Yeah,
that Blip
right.
had last season. Because I know
So how many people are going to implement that and try to do the same?
because somebody showed off a picture or video of Cobalt with those, and I forget the other teams that were mentioned that have those this year as well. What was that, Blaze?
Endgame.
Yep, Endgame.
Yep. So we'll see some interesting things around forks and ground game technology. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through the groups right here. Can Tantrum keep on their winning rampage like they did last year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Witch Doctor, always the bridesmaid, never the bride? Is it gonna maybe win a championship this year? It always seems to wind up getting, so close, but does it get it? Overhaul's back, how competitive is Overhaul gonna be? Are the British bots that coming back gonna, kick ass like they were doing in previous seasons, or have they been usurped by the American evolution, as they were more locked down and not being able to do events over in the UK, which has just now started back up? How's that going to pan out? Yeah.
Kind of refers to a fun little discussion that a couple people in the UDA Discord server and I had, like when you mentioned, because reminded me of that when you mentioned Overhaul, because we were talking about, like, we got the chair fight last year between Big Dill and Overhaul. What would happen if we had a sword fight this year? Because Scorpio's builder blog, they revealed that Scorpio's has the Overkill blade and brought it as a configuration for this season. Overhaul apparently brought a sword for this year. We were wondering what would happen if, like, we got Overhaul, Scorpios, Shatter if they came with the Mary Special blade, and I forget who the fourth one we thought of was. If we got a sword rumble between the 4 of them, I think we had just several ideas out there, because I remember I brought up maybe Star Child comes as like a thwacker instead of a spinner, and
I mean,
it'd be fun. It'd be fun to.
We always do some fun fights at the end of the season because we need filler time to give people time to get ready for the championship. A lot of those don't wind up on the TV show. They usually wind up on YouTube. You might see something with swords and Overhaul's blade.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah,
That would be
Blaze, I don't
cool.
think we've heard much from you. You got any robots we haven't addressed that that have really gotten your attention for this
Well,
upcoming season?
okay, other than, okay, I'm gonna ignore Mammoth because obviously I'm
I mean, you
excited
can
for
bring up
Mammoth.
Mammoth if you want. I don't care.
Alright, but like Mammoth hasn't like, it doesn't look really that much has changed.
Oh,
So
I'm
gonna
sure it
go,
has changed.
I'm
Changed
sure
more
it's
than what you've
changed, but
expected.
like we haven't, yeah. But like externally, Malice, which I'm surprised you didn't bring up, Green.
Oh, because I plan to bring it up on the next topic. But go ahead and talk about it if you want.
Well, I mean, Malice has forks now, which is definitely that's that's gonna be interesting because I can't think of a horizontal that runs forks like that. I know Rotator runs forks, but they're in the back rather than the front.
Yeah, and
I'm just
Malice's first opponent, not gonna reveal who that is. Same thing. Either wait till Thursday or
Secret.
pay the $5 to see it. Malice's first opponent, I think, is like a perfect match to basically really test out like some of these configurations, and it'd be really interesting to see what both those robots come up with configuration wise for that fight.
You're gonna see some fun stuff in terms of configurations, ground game, fork game. You're gonna see forks. Oh, that was the smart thing to do. And you're gonna see maybe you might see some forks backfire. You might see the spectrum of things happening with the forks. And it's very interesting. Much more interesting than I'd say last season, where it just seemed to be getting out of control. Now this more of a nuanced ground game is happening that is making the ground game actually more interesting than it was of just like elongate the fork and get underneath them, right? It's actually getting more nuanced. So I think fans will dig that, and the commentary from Kenny all about it is spot on. And so you'll get to have fun with that and debate,
interesting.
what should or should not should have happened.
Absolutely.
Okay. I gotta think real quick.
Try and think, because there's one other robot I was thinking of
Yeah.
that really got my attention. I might need to look at the roster.
Death Roll's returning, which is amazing.
Yeah,
to see.
that's amazing. And that story there is they've been out for so long. I mean, I think they basically just had it finished, ready to ship, and then COVID happened, and they just sat there. And then they probably did a little bit of fine tuning, then shipped it again. So you're seeing the robot that is very close to the one that won second place a couple, 3 or 4 seasons ago. But things have evolved since then. Things have evolved since then. So what's going to happen with them?
Okay, yeah, here are the two it's actually 2 robots. One of them is Gigabyte this year, because like I've heard Gigabyte, I believe from what I've heard, Gigabyte is driven by different people this time.
Gigabyte's going to be captained by Derek and
yes.
Camden this season. So John is passing the reins to the younger guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Gigabyte adapts to like a lot of those changes,
and they'll be in the first episode, so you'll get a good inclination right from the get-go.
Yeah, and then the other one, I already forgot who that was.
Fusion?
Bloodsport, because Bloodsport adapted towards one of the features that like Ice Wave has, separated the weapon area with the drive area, made those like 2 separate things. It'll be interesting to see how that stuff works out. And yeah, we've seen pictures of Bloodsport on their social media page as well as the Battlebots website, and it looks very cool this year. And
you'll just have to see how it does. I mean, all this is just like you just gotta watch the fights and see how they do.
Yeah.
My problem is I know what happens, so I can't say much.
Yep. Yeah, I'd also be interested. Like, even though this robot did make the Final Four last year, Hydra was full of gremlins last season, like getting caught up on the floor and having drive problems because of it. It'll be interesting to see how Jake improved that robot, at least to avoid that from happening. Kind of get a repeat of like how well it worked in like the double or the Defender, Ribot, and Tantrum fights right there, because even Blip as well. And
Correct. Totally correct.
Yeah, and Fusion as well, because like Fusion was
Fusion
one that
especially because
yeah,
it catches
Fusion
on
was one I
fire.
actually Fusion was actually the robot I predicted to be Dark Horse last season, especially after predicting that they would beat Cobalt correctly, and
Fusion on paper sounds amazing,
oh
and
yeah,
but it's plagued by these these fires. That have they fixed that? Have they worked that out? We'll see what happens, and you'll be able to see that also very soon in the beginnings of the season as well.
yeah. Okay, so kind of like the next topic then. This is these last two are kind of more prediction type things. So yeah, Dark Horse at least. Basically returning robot. Might not have done so well last season. Who are some robots that we think could go on a deep run? And Blaze, this is where I was gonna bring Malice in, because Malice is my pick right now to be Dark Horse, and because like I like I like a lot of Malice's improvements for this season. Blaze addressed one of them with the forks. I think it'll be a really interesting thing to see, especially if they take on like a big vertical spinner this season, because I bet it's bound to happen with how many vertical spinners there are this year that Malice is going to fight a vert in one of those 4 fights at least. And the other thing being, Malice's big problem last year was mostly their reliability, because Bunny mentioned quite a few times that, like, their speed controllers weren't able to handle the weapon. Fortunately, she mentioned John Mladnick managed to provide them a speed controller that was bulky enough to be able to handle their big spinning weapon. So hopefully we'll get to see more. Hopefully we'll get to see better reliability from Malice this season. And yeah, and some of my other contenders for that, Pory
The
will
thing
like
about
this
Malice
one.
is real quick is
Yep.
Malice is going to be one of the bots in the live show, and Bunny and her team are so together.
Yes.
They were the first to finish all of all the bots that they're delivering for the live show. I mean, they're just a fine-tuned machine. Bunny works at Send Cut Send. So they, and that's not the reason why, but that's one of the reasons why. They kick ass. So you choosing them as a dark horse has a lot of validity because the team is so well tuned and well oiled.
Yeah. Then some of the other ones I've thought of and given consideration to, Pory would like this one, Shred It Bro, which was brought up earlier, or based on Evan Arias's Hall of Fame design in the Beetleweight class, and very successful back then. And definitely Paint Train had some issues back then. Hopefully Evan addressed some of that stuff, and
that's it. Paint Train has never lived up. Paint Train's never lived up to the hype of the smaller bot. Will he finally do it?
Yeah,
and he's got to prove it pretty quickly, because we've given him 3 seasons to prove it, right? And I think he was the other alt that got in with Big Dill, if I'm not mistaken. And because he, Paint Train never brought it. Is Shred It Bro going to bring it? We shall see.
Find out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure Pory will be hyping it up, and will either be ranting at us that he was right about Shred It Bro, or getting made fun of by us. It's a very common thing. We'll be making fun of each other. No matter how much I make fun of Pory for Shred It Bro related reasons, I do have a lot of respect for Shred It Bro, and I hope we'll get to see some great fights from Shred It Bro. And yeah, some of the others I was looking at, Fusion and Claw Viper, of course, which we've discussed those two, and who was the last one? Hijinks this year. My one concern though with Hijinks is just the reduced geometry of the battle box with the upper deck being in there. But I've heard Hijinks has made some pretty big improvements to that robot to hopefully improve like the spin up time and blade wise configuring for specific robots or specific types of robots. And Hijinks I think is possibly one to watch. But there are so many that could possibly make a deep run. But yeah, Pory, Blaze, Smurf, you 3 got bots you want to add to that list?
No, I think you covered most of the good ones.
I have one that's pretty clearly a joke, but
is it Mammoth?
Yes.
I mean, Mammoth did have a pretty deep run a couple seasons ago.
Mammoth did. Mammoth did really well. Mammoth, they slipped into the top 32 because of glitch, but
Yeah. I mean,
we
Yeah,
shall
like
see.
I don't blame you for picking Mammoth, because like the thing that I feel is the hardest, but the thing that I feel is like the hardest part about Mammoth is simply just preparing for such an unusual design like Mammoth right there. Because like I
yeah,
feel that was
the
kind of a lot of the struggles Copperhead had when they fought Mammoth, even Shatter
yeah,
as well that year. So
they should have beaten Chatter.
yeah, yeah. So like I don't blame you for picking Mammoth for that, because Mammoth always catches us by surprise, like which is always the most fun part. 'Cause it's always fun when teams catch
That's
you by
it.
surprise.
Yeah.
Because like
It's
it started with the huge fight back in 2020, then the Copperhead fight.
right.
Last year was Hyjins for me, and
It's a weird bot to fight.
yeah,
And if you hit it right, you can break it, but it's hard to hit those spots. And it just sort of engulfs you almost like, like the old Tentamushi did. You just can't get around it. And then the swatter, which has so much momentum behind it because it's so big, swats you. And the next thing you know, you're up on the screws and you're like, what happened? So don't count out Mammoth for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And,
Okay, and now I have kind of a more serious one.
what you got?
Okay. Um, remember, I think that I I have a feeling that um I know I put Endgame as 4-0, but now I'm second guessing myself, and I don't think Endgame's gonna do as well. I think it's gonna go like 2-2 this year.
I don't know.
Interesting, but yeah.
You
We'll
don't
see.
know? Whoa,
Well,
We'll see.
that's
yeah, exactly. It's something where
I'm being coy.
we'll find out depending on who Endgame draws, and yeah, it should be great. So yeah, and so then the final topic here, at least, giant nut contenders. What do we think for those?
Mammoth.
Of course you are.
I mean, you
Yeah.
always have the usual
Yeah.
suspects, right? Hypershock did amazing
Yep. Smurf's pick is
in the Golden
Hypershock.
Bolt.
And
Yeah, so I mean, coming off that Golden Bolt insanity, they're a huge contender.
oh yes.
Hydra, chip on his shoulder, felt he got robbed, out for blood, big time contender for the giant nut. Witch Doctor, who always gets in the top but never wins the damn thing, wants it bad. They're there too.
Yeah.
Who else?
Minotaur is my pick to win.
Minotaur.
And
I mean, those guys are so hungry for that nut, and they just, if you take previous seasons, they're just eating through bot after bot after bot, and the road to the tournament is just like boom, 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 boom. We're in the tournament, and they just keep diving down the bracket, and then something happens, and they don't make it. Is this their year?
yeah, and then two other big
Hopefully.
names. I think Pory is one of these high on his list whenever we've talked about this. Sawblaze and Rotator are two.
Yeah.
Rotator is, Rotator. Victor is such a champion and kicks ass, and that bot, is so destructive. And can he do it this year? Sawblaze, Jameson is a genius, tactical genius, right?
Yep.
The weapon maybe isn't the most destructive in the field, but when he nails you in the perfect spot. So can he use that to his advantage? And the big plow is always a great thing as well. We'll see.
Something I would love to see would be a non-spinner take home the giant nut, and my big pick would either be Blip or Hydra for that. I think
I'm with you. I mean,
yeah.
I can't be too as a co-founder, it's probably not my place to say favorites, right?
Oh yeah.
But my favorite is the launchers. I mean, I love Hydra. I love Bronco. I love Blip. Just seeing something do that is so amazing. And for one of those bots to win one day would be my dream.
One thing that did just come to mind, and let's see, Blip is trying to go for flipping a robot to the ceiling. Hydra, on the other hand, they've kind of given up on that. Instead, Hydra wants to. I said Jake Ewert mentioned on my podcast that now he wants to try to fling a robot to I think he said there's a big camera right above the driver's box.
He does it
wants
all
to try
the
to
time.
fling a robot to that, and
Well, yeah. we
would
shall see.
Waiachi get billed if they did
Busy.
end up hitting that camera?
No. Have me on the podcast at the end of the season and we'll talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chat
we'll have to have
about
you on for the postseason podcast if we do
that'd be
it this
awesome.
year. Because I was saying we were going to do it last
Yeah.
year, but I didn't end up getting to it.
that. Yeah. Busy.
So
Yeah, I have one more weird question. It's completely unrelated, but I remembered it. Okay, so I saw that you added like the new banners this season for like champions and stuff. They're very cool. And that
Yeah.
sparked a wonder in my head. I remember from the Comedy Central era, there were all these like banners that had like neon sketches of like robots, like random ones like Slam and stuff. Like, do those still
Mhm.
exist?
Oh, there is some. We don't have them, but I'm sure that they probably don't. I mean, when I don't think First Television, which was a production company, exists anymore. I think
Yeah.
Mac and Bradley have moved on to other things. I think Bradley's now like a real estate agent in Palm Springs or something. But they may be in a storage facility somewhere. We have the Golden Bolt, the Golden Nut, right? They would always have that in the San Francisco shot. We have that.
Oh, that's cool.
But that stuff inspired the banner. So in season 5, Mac and Bradley, whoever their art director was, said, we want big banners hanging in the pit in Treasure Island. And Trey and I always remembered that. And we had a discussion this year about making these championship banners to hang in our new permanent facility, just like, you see in the hockey games and basketball games. And we kind of took a page from the season 5 Comedy Central book to do them. And then Isaac from Team Hypershock did all the graphic design for them, and they turned out amazing. And you'll see them unveiled in the first episode. It's kind of a teary, for me, it's a teary moment because it's not just, we not only celebrate the champions of the new era of BattleBots, but we also celebrate the champions of the old heavyweight class. People get mad because we're ignoring the middleweights and lightweights and the super heavyweights, but we don't have enough room. So we're just doing the heavyweights because that's where we're at now. But we are honoring, like Biohazard and then we even go back further than that.
I saw the
Eagle
one.
Eyes, we'll see.
Yeah, I saw the one.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of it, honestly.
Yes. And I will say, I'm going to drop a little hint to you guys. Okay. There are 2 more banners.
2 more.
Oh, actually, I think I saw
well,
photos.
If you know what they are, don't say anything.
Secret,
but there are 2, keep it a secret. But there are 2 more banners that shall be unveiled either at the end of this season or at the end of the Golden Bolt season this summer. 2 very special banners.
Yeah, they're very cool.
I don't think I have any
knowledge
on them, but I'm looking forward to it though.
Yes.
Any other robots to add to Giant Nut contenders? Pory, you got robots you want to rant about?
Robots going all the way, man.
Of course.
Anybody could win it. It's one of these things where people go on a run, other team has some bad luck. Don't count out Endgame.
Yeah, because we listed off a bunch of robots, but like the truth is, and I mentioned this several times during the newcomer podcast when I was meeting with lots of those awesome teams, that the field is so stacked for this upcoming season. Like just the percent of robots that could possibly win the Giant Nut just keeps growing every single season as more bigger robots emerge in the field and more big contenders, more robots with the potential to go on a deep run for the Giant Nut. All that stuff just keeps growing, and it's just going to keep getting more and more competitive every season. And the Roboteers are definitely going to have to work harder and harder to to be able to win the Giant Nut each year. So,
yeah, it's a definite evolution, and it's not just an evolution. It's also the fog of war.
Yes,
and the shit happens situation too.
Yeah,
that can change the whole field, pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much the competitive field changed for the 2020 season when the pandemic got going. Because originally saw a roster with all the robots that were accepted. Then COVID becomes a really serious topic, and then shuts down Battlebots and delays it for that season, and then we get to see a whole new roster later on that we see compete
because
that
the
year.
international teams
Yep.
couldn't come. You know, one
Yeah,
good thing about
exactly.
this season is the barrier between the teams, the COVID barrier, is gone, which is great because the refs now can communicate a lot better. The teams can communicate better. You can have actual emotional, moments between the two teams at the end of the fights, from the winner and the loser.
Yep.
The judges now sit together like they used to, so they can do a post-match, powwow about what they saw. They can't influence each other's decision. That's in the rules, but they have every opportunity to ask questions like, what did you see the weapon working at the end of the fight? Yes, I did. No, I did. They can have that discussion. So that helps render better decisions. So the COVID restrictions have laxed, which is fantastic. Audience isn't wearing masks. Of course, I got COVID during the fucking thing. But I survived.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so anything else really to talk about from anybody here, or should we close out this podcast?
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming and sharing a lot of intel with us.
It was an honor.
Yeah,
yeah.
great talking.
You got some exclusives.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know what they were, but
Blaze didn't get all the exclusives, but Blaze, you can rewatch the first chunk of the video.
I'll just watch the entire thing.
That's fair too.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right.
I do have
go ahead.
more
Go
thing
ahead.
to say.
Yeah.
So, okay. I know I said Mammoth was gonna win the giant nut, but my more serious pick I just remembered is Whiplash.
Good choice.
So
Whiplash is always one that seems to manage to. It's like many.
Best,
it's like many of the big
one
names.
of the best drivers
Yep.
in the sport.
I mean,
hungry for it. A great team.
Bye bye.
And a bot that without it's got a weapon, but I mean, it can beat Sanawayachi, with a lifter. That's the testament to how great of a driver and a great of a robot we've got with Whiplash.
One of my big dream matches is a fight between Whiplash and Rotator, just because I'm curious how Whiplash would prepare for Rotators become a lot more complicated to prepare for, with the fact that now they're a combination of a horizontal spinner and wedgelets. And I think that'd be a really interesting showdown. And
yeah, that would be super cool.
We'll get it this year.
Who knows? Find out.
Find out Thursday.
Yep, find out Thursday. So.
Or pay $5.
Yep, or pay $5.
At this point, it's Thursday, so just find out on Thursday. It's only 48 hours to find out.
To be fair though, if you did pay the $5, like it's great support. It's great support for the show. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a supporter, and I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why Pory's a supporter too.
Yeah, no, it really it's a. There's probably like, I don't know, a couple hundred supporters. It's not a huge giant community, but it's great. And we're trying to figure out perks to throw you guys all the time. Early fight cards. If we ever finish the the Mars Remar video, which is just a bandwidth issue, and some rights stuff with Amazon. We'll probably show it to supporters first. Get the early access. They got a whole clip from the nastiest knockouts the other day.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Heck yeah. So yeah, unless if anybody else has anything they want to talk about, I think we'll go ahead and close out the podcast here. So thanks for watching this video. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button as usual. And the plan is to link Pory, Smurf, Blaze's channels all down below. And then we'll link the YouTube channel for Battlebots as well as some social media info for Battlebots to where you can maybe find some of this extra information. And
go check us out on YouTube. That's where we put all the sort of stuff that you don't see on TV. It goes there.
Yep.
Our TikTok channel, which is growing like gangbusters, has if you want to give your information to the Chinese government, we post really cool vertical clips there all the time, and they're a lot of fun. But we're putting those on Instagram as well.
Yeah,
and then the usual stuff on Facebook, which is kind of gets the biggest dump of content on Facebook, fight cards and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Anyway.
huge thank you to Greg Munson for coming to this podcast and talking about a
Yeah,
lot of this stuff
thank
with
you.
us. It was an honor to have you on here, and
Thank
we
you,
got
guys.
and great intel on lots of the topics, and even some outside topics that I wasn't thinking we were going to get to that we talked about. So
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
sure.
Thank you for having me.
yeah, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you for the next podcast.